It's part 6 of our conversation with Richie Furay. I'm John Beaudin from Rock History Music. As a former member of the groundbreaking group Buffalo Springfield, also a former member of Poco and the Souther Hillman Furay Band, just to mention a few. It's no wonder he's a member of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. For more details, go to his website, richiefuray.com. Going into that band, that was your era of that band. That what was in your mind? Were you following your nose? Did you know what you wanted?
Well, Jimmy Messina was our last bass player in Buffalo Springfield, and Jimmy and I really struck up a friendship. And I said that I would be in the Springfield as long as Steven was there. Neil was in and out. Those Canadians, man. I don't know what to do with you Canadians, man. But there were actually 3 Canadians in the Springfield. Right. So, it could have been a Canadian band, and Steven and I were odd men out. But, Steven and I had a relationship all the way from New York City, and it continued on. And so as long as Steven was in the band, I said, I'll stay. But when Steven decides it's done, we're done, I'm moving on, then it was time to move on. And so Jimmy and I, there were 9 people in and out of the Springfield in 2 years. And Jimmy and I struck up a friendship, and we decided, hey, listen, when it comes time, and it looks like it is, we were on a Beach Boy tour at the time, and it looks like it's coming to a close from what we can hear and gather, and it looks like it's over. So let's just start another band. And both of us, kind of had, listen, I don't know if Jimmy would admit it today, but James Burton must have had a huge influence on him, because he early on, man, he played some guitar, like only James can't, like James Burton can. And Jimmy's very stylized, very good guitar player. But, we decided, hey, let's put together this country element. We brought Rusty Young in. He played steel guitar on the Buffalo Springfield Kind Woman version. And, let's try and utilize this in putting a band together. And when Rusty came out, we talked to him and said, man, I got a drummer, because we're looking for a drummer. And George sings too. He sings high harmonies, because we wanted harmonies, but we wanted a country element to it. And so, from there, we just auditioned bass players. We actually auditioned Timothy and Randy on the same day.
Really?
And, yeah, I think so. Yep, that's what I remember. Very interestingly, Timothy wrote me a letter right after the audition, and he'd gone back to Sacramento, and he said, hey man, I just want to thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity to come in and audition, and I know you guys are going to make the right choice, and I just want you to know that I was just really it was just really special for me to come. And I got that little letter framed, and I sent it off to him. I don't know, I was going through old stuff a while back, and found it and sent it, and I said, Timothy should have this. That was part of his legacy of getting started and all. But, Jimmy and I just talked about, just starting a band that had a little country, influence to it. And that's how it all took off. It was kind of like it was like our brainchild, let's do this. It wasn't that nobody was doing it. The Byrds had, they were doing some of it with Graham Parsons at the time. And of course, Graham, who was a friend of mine back in New York, come to Los Angeles at the time, he was starting the Burrito Brothers at the same time. Fact is, we actually talked about putting the same, one in the same band together. And it got to be, well, who are we going to switch out? Who are we going to give up for what we're going to,
Right.
And so it ended up being, because all the guys in both bands, golly, Chris and, Chris was in the Burritos and all, and great player. But, we just kind of went our separate ways. And I think Graham went more towards the country, and we went more towards a rock and roll. But that's how things got started. Jimmy and I just were talking it through, and as we put the steel guitar on Kind Woman, it was like, it seems like let's go, let's move on this, let's see if he's interested. And then the next thing you know, man, we got a band.
Where's your hometown?
My hometown is Yellow Springs, Ohio.
That's it. When's the last time you were back?
Last time I was back there was probably about 3 years ago.
You still have family there?
No, family is gone, and my sister lives in San Diego, And it's very interesting. You're going to find this probably a very interesting sidelight, but we owned some property in Yellow Springs that my parents, when they were like 20 some odd years old, they bought a drugstore and a couple set of buildings, and then built a gift shop right next to the theater, and we owned that piece of property, since my mom and dad bought it back in the 40s, and Dave Chappelle just bought it.
Really?
Yeah, and it was a great thing. I mean, never met the guy, never even had any negotiations with the guy, other than his dad was a professor at Antioch College, or Antioch. I don't know if it was the Antioch College or the Antioch University, because it changed names. Now there's two. Now there's actually Antioch University and Antioch College there, and I don't know which one his dad was the professor at. But when it came time, we'd been offered one thing, and then one of the people that was like negotiating with us, man, it was just like, you gotta be kidding me. No, we're not selling, And all of a sudden, out of the blue, this offer, not offer, but Dave Chappelle comes in and says, I want this property. What do you want? And I said, well, here's what we're asking. Done deal. Sign up. That's it. Bye. That's it. So we have no attachments to Yellow Springs really anymore. I mean, my mom and dad are buried there, but other than that, most of the family has gone away. Like I said, my sister is living in San Diego, so we're I mean, to go back there, I really don't have. I mean, I do have some friends, but all of our friends are scattered all over. I mean, some of your best friends in life come from high school.
Yes.
And some of my best friends, and interestingly enough, we're all still alive, all still married to the same girls that we married way back when, which is just really amazing when you think about it, and but they're scattered all over from California to the East Coast. And we see each other every once in a while. I used to see them more often when I would travel around and hit one of these towns that they're close to or close by. But those, I mean, I really don't have what I would call really close friends that I made in college. I was only in college for a year and 3 months. My appendix ruptured and I dropped out. I almost never made it to New York on an a cappella choir tour, which really was the springboard to get me to New York.
Did you know what you had? But obviously that's very painful. Did you know what was wrong with you?
Well, I came home from college around Christmas time, and man, I was just sicker than a dog. And it burst. My appendix burst and rushed me to the hospital. And I never went back to college after that. But I was able to go back and sing with the a cappella choir, rehearse with them for this tour that my friend Bob Harmelink, who lives up in Canton, Ohio, and Nels Gustafson, we were the three guys that went to New York to be folk singers, and they are friends, but the friends that I made in high school, I mean, we grew up together. I mean, I grew up with some of these guys from kindergarten, and the town was only 2,500 people, and we were close, and those are deep friendships that that you have today.
Paul McGuire writes, did you have a relationship with the late Phil Hartman?
I did not. I did with his brother John Hartman, but Phil did. After I had left the band, he did their logo and did a lot of that. But I did not really have a relationship with Phil at all. But like I say, John worked for David Geffen and Elliot Roberts, and John was a part of that management team, and so that I knew John.
I'm going to ask you a question I've never asked anyone before.
Uh-huh.
Okay, that wonderful woman you've been with for all these years, how she changed the trajectory of your life? Because they always do, especially if they last a long time. This is obviously a wonderful woman. I'm going to give you a chance to talk about your wife.
Well, she is. I mean, inside and out. One of the records that we actually did a redo of was I mean, it's a silly song in a way, but it's a song called "She Don't Know She's Beautiful." I don't know if you know the song or not, and I wanted to do that simply because that's my wife. I mean, she is so, I mean, inside and out, she is just the most beautiful person in the world, man. And again, I just can't even say enough about her to have been with me, you know, through crisis after crisis, and to, you know, had our marriage just really apart, you know, and then brought back together. Man, like, you know, people said, you know, the two shall become one. Bingo, man. I mean, that is what it's all about. And that's why our relationship has managed to stay together, because when some, you know, don't, the husband and wife shall cleave to one another, you know, somebody said, you know, that's like, you know, you're either cleaving, hanging, or you're being split apart like this, and you can't really do anything to that. You can't really repair that, you know, where there's a tear. And, you know, she's just been a support, a very quiet support, you know, basically. But at the same time, you know, she has been a support to everything that I've done. And, man, we are as one as you can be.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you sharing that, because that's my last question, because it's come up through the interview, which was a beautiful thing, you know. We'll have more from Richie Furay coming up next week. His website is simply richiefuray.com. And if you want to support our channel, please buy a t-shirt. Links in the very top of the description of this video. Make sure you comment on our video, subscribe to our channel, and share our videos. I'm John Beaudin. Take care of yourself.